Folks, right now we're going to talk to our man Steve Rhodes. We talk to Steve every Monday at 3:15. And folks, right on the front page, you click on the newsletter tab, Mastering Probability by Steve Rhodes. Outstanding newsletter, new updates every morning, and usually a lot of updates in the afternoon as well. And you can sign up, folks, $149 for the month. You get a 30-day money-back guarantee. And I went in and just looked at these archive webinars that you gain access to, folks. We bring them up, but you gain access to it for 30 days. And you can access all of these as many times as you like. And this is the web member area in terms of the number of webinars that Steve has, whether you're talking about Japanese candlesticks, the oscillator unchanged line. It speaks for itself. Steve Rhodes, so many great webinars. Good afternoon, man.
Hey, Tommy, how you doing today? How was your 4th of July?
It was fantastic. I hung out with Tommy, of course. We got some beautiful fireworks. A little bit rainy, but they got him in over here. How about yourself?
Yeah, you're right. A little bit rainy. So I had planned on starting my my holiday a bit early. As soon as the show ended, we had a golf tee time at 1 o'clock. Show ends about noon. I walk out of here, walk into my backyard for a moment. It starts raining. So I sit down to start taking a look at my app to see radar-wise, where it's coming from. And I look out over my dock, and I'm starting to see the water spin. And literally within seconds, 4 or 5 seconds, a water spout appeared. Oof. Right off my deck, and watching it form was pretty amazing. And then seconds later, if it wasn't tied down, it hit two of my neighbors' docks, and everything just went flying. And then it was gone. It was here and gone, in literally seconds. But watching just the water, and seeing how what I saw was the spinning in the water, which was pretty crazy, and then it just turns into this little spout. And then comes ashore. All in a matter of a second. So there was no early golf, let's say, on Thursday.
Not quite, yeah.
more cleanup. But, good old Mother Nature. Speaking of Mother Nature, let's talk about these how Mother Nature's impacting these markets out here. And really what I'm referring to, Tommy, this afternoon during the Trader's Edge show, one of our dinners, Mr. Z, asked a question, and I didn't have enough time. Is the stock market making an important top? And the reason that one would be asking that question now is because of all of the topping patterns. So you mentioned a number of the webinars that folks have access to, subscribers have access to. And one of the patterns that I teach is the TD9 count system. Easy system to understand. Everybody should know it. Here we're taking a look at the U.S. cash indices. And right now we've got the Dow Transports, and the Russell 2000. They each have confirmed TD9 count tops. And their targets become those green oscillator unchanged lines levels out there. So here's the potential for a top. Now, today's close needs to be above 6204.95 for the S&P 500. So folks should write that down their pad of paper. For the NDX 100, it's 22,679.01. If price closes below those levels, they will not form TD9 count tops. And that's important for us to understand in trying to ask the question, is this a top of importance out there? The semiconductor index as well, that needs a close above 5546.54. I think we're in the NASDAQ composite 2369.73. I think we're trading somewhere near that area. So it's going to be an interesting 40 minutes here as to whether or not these tops actually form or not. If we take a look at equity futures, the ES needs a close above 6253.75. So look at that as settlement comes in at 5 o'clock, and the NQ 22,893.25. If price closes below those levels, we won't have tops. And if we don't get those topping signals, it'd be pretty hard to say that we've got a top of importance. Kind of makes sense?
It does. I'm with you. I'm writing down those numbers, Steve. I like it.
Oh, perfect. So then we can go to the index ETFs, because we've talked about the equal-weighted ETFs and their importance out here, and both the equal-weighted ETFs and the weighted, they may also form TD9 count tops. And I didn't write down the numbers on that, but we'll come back to that during tomorrow's show or in today's newsletter update. So the question is, the stock market making an important top? Here's what I would say right now as the 3:22 in the afternoon. It's making a top. Is it an important top or not? Well, This could be a top that lasts really only for 2 to 4 trading sessions. We talked about this a little bit last week when we were together, and here I'm showing the NQ. So this is the daily time frame that we're looking at. The bottom panel of this chart shows consecutive moves lower or consecutive moves higher. Right now, what I'm interested in is the consecutive moves lower. So coming off of that low that we had in April, what we can see is we've had 2 3-bar moves to the downside. So when I'm saying 3-bar, 3 consecutive lower closes. And we've had two consecutive lower closes out there, typically in bull markets. So this is really a cool system. This is really a cool tool out here because you don't need any kind of technical knowledge. You just need to be able to read a candle. Is this a close that was lower than yesterday? And so buy entries, buy the dips, if you'll call them, will typically take place after a 2 or 3-bar move to the downside, and that's what we're seeing here in the NQ. So is this a top? I say if the TD9 count comes to fruition at session end, the answer is yes, but it still may only result in a 2 to 3-bar move to the downside. That's one thing we can take a look at. If this is going to be a move of importance, what we would also want to take a look at are those market profiles. And those profiles help us to understand where buyers and sellers are. Right now, I'm interested where the buyers are at, and that's the upper section of this chart here. And that shows the bottom. The arrows are right at the bottom, or where support is at. The buyers of those profiles. Now, we have seen where prices close for one session below a support level. It's this little where my cursor is at, but the very next session right above it. I require 2 closes above resistance or 2 closes below support for it to really be something other than a one-hit wonder, so to speak, out there. So this is one of the things that, and now, if we get a close below 22,250.75, then this may be a top of importance. But first, the market has to prove itself to us. The cash indice for the NASDAQ has only had, now this is kind of interesting because we were taking a look at the NQ out here where it had 4 of these 2 or 3-bar moves to the downside. When I took a look at the cash index out here, that's the lower left. I was kind of shocked, actually. There's only been 2-bar moves to the downside.
It's been a heck of a 90 days, right? Since
totally.
Yeah, seriously.
No, and the weekly chart, so that's the center portion of this chart that we're looking at. Last week, it negated a TD9 count top, and it did it immediately. The typical meaning of that, Tommy, is when you negate a TD9 count pattern, it immediately tells us about a strong upward momentum move. Now, when I say that strong upward momentum move, I mean that, but I also mean you need to know what's going on above you, and in this case here, it would be the monthly time frame. Turns out that the monthly time frame last month, the month of June, negated a Rhodes Momentum Indicator top. So I've got no top on the monthly and no top on the weekly, and maybe a TD9 count top at the end of the day. So the longer term is saying to me, maybe this is just a short-term move to the downside. I think you were kind of insinuating that just a little bit, as I was listening to the first segment that you were doing today. Another thing that I've got out here is if we're going to have some kind of important top, the Dow and the NDX 100 are typically going to top at about the same time. And that's what these little dashed yellow horizontal lines is. The only time that we really didn't see that take place was back in 2000. In 2000, we got a top in the Dow around January 10th, and in the NASDAQ, it was around March 13th. And so at this stage here, if the NASDAQ is not forming a top, there's no way that I can say that the Dow is forming an important top. So I'll leave it right there.
Great stuff, man. I love the way you break it down, those levels. And yeah, quite a 90 days, man, percentage-wise. My goodness. But that is astounding when you think about, 90 days, man. You can't find more than 2 days in a row negative action on that NASDAQ.
Yeah, one other thing, Tom, just to point out here is that we are at new all-time highs, not today, but as of Thursday, in the advanced decline line. And, typically that's not how tops form either, major tops.
Steve, great stuff, man. I look forward to the program tomorrow. Have a great night.
Take care, Tommy.